Do you remember watching the movie 2001: Space Odyssey? I remember I watched it in 2001, and there was one thing that went through my mind. It was, it's already 2001. How come I can't jump into a spaceship and go up to Jupiter like they can in the movie? Now, the whole subject of space travel is really far out, no pun intended. It's so far removed from ordinary person's daily life. But it's still a fact that it's been over 40 years since man first landed on the moon. Where have all the technological advances been since then? I mean, don't you think that by this time we could have been on the moon or on Mars or some other celestial object? Well, believe it or not, there are actually people working around the clock making space travel a future reality. And these people are not who you think they are. They're not just NASA engineers or military contractors. They're also entrepreneurs, people with an idea who have some capital and start up a company, and they're starting up private spaceflight companies so they can test and construct spacecraft so that eventually we'll be able to go up there. Now today, so pretty much I'll be briefly talking about space privatization, and that's a huge topic. There's so many economic and legal, political issues with that are above my head. So basically I'll be discussing the reasoning behind the privatization of the space industry as opposed to our current model, which is NASA and public administration. And I'll be discussing 5 main reasons. So keep track of those 5 reasons as I make my speech. As for me, in this topic, 4 years ago, when I was in high school, I came across this topic reading a book about what the future could be like, and that's how I'm familiar with this topic. And I did some research back then, so I re-researched it now, so I can relate it to you guys, and that is my credibility. But anyways, that is Space Odyssey if you have seen it. Anyways, so question, show of hands. If you could hop on a spacecraft to take you to the moon or Jupiter or some other celestial object for the price of an airline ticket, would you do it? Show of hands. All right. Well, obviously, you guys want it because, well, humans are curious, right? You want to go out to space. It seems natural, and I'll use you guys as proof of that. But now, if I told you that you can actually go out and book a flight right now on a website to take a flight, the Soyuz flight, to the International Space Station for $20 million, would you do it? Because you actually can. Right now. There have been people who have booked flights to the International Space Station for that much. These guys are really rich. I feel really bad. They can go out and do these things. But right now, our technology is advanced enough, and we can do that. For example, right there, that right there is a SpaceX private rocket, which can take you out and dock at the International Space Station. But of course, it's still really expensive, obviously. But the thing is, there's a reason for that, and it's because with our current model, right, our current public model, there's not enough resources around. There's not enough spacecraft that are proven to be safe. There's not. Think of all the liabilities, the insurance claims, and all that with going up there. It's just impossible for the current person right now, for the current ordinary person to do that. But with private space industries, we might be able to create a proliferation of different spacecraft which are not only safe, but are profitable to make profitable for the businesses. So those are actually the first 2 reasons for why space privatization is a good thing, because people want it, but they can't get it with the current model. Which brings me to reason 3. The problem with NASA right now is that it's really overburdened. With the economy plunging and the U.S. government, taxpayers, NASA, it's really overburdened. So what do we do about that? Well, there are interested billionaires and multimillionaires who want to take the venture capital and invest it into the construction of spacecraft. I mean, this country has the proper knowledge, the proper resources, the proper wealth, and the proper interest in creating such ventures. All it takes now is for these entrepreneurs to go out and invest and create stuff. And in contrast to these spacecraft, like you can see the Saturn V, which took us to the moon. You can see the space shuttle, which was recently retired, and the Soyuz crew. They're all public. They're all public ventures, but we can actually create some kind of economy, which is my fourth reason. Pardon me, my eyesight's really bad with my glasses. With the creation of a space economy, like sending out private spacecraft to like ferry passengers and cargo to the moon, it would decrease the burden on NASA so that they can spend more of their time on exploring, on scientific expeditions, on going to explore Mars and Jupiter and out beyond the solar system. So these private space companies could the resources would be put in these private space companies to take us to the moon and ferry cargo and provide services to the normal passenger. President Obama actually killed off a program, NASA's moon program called the Crew for Vehicle Exploration. No, it was called Vision for Space Exploration. They had a vessel called the CEV, and he killed off that program because they weren't really going anywhere with the resources that they had. So then he actually recently made a plan for space industries, private space industry to grow, and he killed off NASA, basically doing that. NASA's foray into the future, as far as like space economy goes. And it may sound crazy to you guys, but this has actually been done before. This model has been done before in airlines. Like Boeing and Airbus are private companies, and they make airplanes which the government can buy. Also, private industries like American Airlines, they can buy those aircraft, and then they service it to us, and that's what makes it cheap for us. So think of it like this. Think of like the Lewis and Clark expedition. Lewis and Clark, they went out to explore America, North American continent, whereas the entrepreneurs, they created railroads, and they created real estate development. That is kind of like the model that Obama has put forth, where NASA would go out and take care of the scientific expeditions, while space companies like, for example, SpaceX and Spaceship One, I'll show you these. Right? That's Spaceship One. That actually is in development right now, still testing. Whereas SpaceX, the SpaceX Dragon, here it is right here. Here it is docking with ISS. They're already in production right now. That one right there specifically is already taking passengers up. And with the Lewis and Clark analogy, craft like this would colonize local areas, and they'll make a profit because they would make a profit because with the growing demand of this kind of thing, it'd be economically sound feasible, and it'd take a burden off NASA to explore. So those are my 5 reasons, basically. I'll repeat them. One is there's demand for spaceflight to go into space. Reason 2 is that under the current model, it can't be done that feasibly. Why is that? Because NASA is overburdened. So the fourth reason would be the proliferation of the growth of a space economy. Companies will be able to make a profit, private companies will be able to make a profit on ferrying passengers and cargo to the local areas, like the moon. And 5th reason is that it's been shown to be done before with private airlines and also with the exploration of America. It was the same exact plan for distributing the resources between nationally funded programs